Hi again, and welcome to our stream tonight. I'm doing a small episode about learning from losing. I think it's a great way to actually up your game. And I recently done two bigger tournaments and went 4-1. And got one loss from each. So I'm gonna talk about the game in Umeå at the Fantasi Fanatic 14 that took place earlier this year. Luckily, I was on the streaming table when I lost my game up there. So I'm gonna use that stream here, I think. Before that, I'm gonna go through my list and talk about that a bit, but first we also have some news today. There has been a lot of previews and discussions about the new chapter approved coming next season, which will impact our game a lot, I think. A lot of my go-to secondaries are no more available, so I'm gonna have to redo my game a bit and think about how I can use this list in the best way to still win the secondary game. We have a very strong list in the Deathwatch. It is a very strong list because it is OBSEC, so we played primary game very well. We're also very tough units, especially now with the Armor of Contempt and our Indomitor kill teams that are very hard to shift. And we also have a lot of mobility if we play the Army of Renown. So still, even though some of my go-to secondaries are now more available from all the rumors today, probably we're gonna find a solution. But more about that another night. Tonight I'm going to talk about learning from losing and how I look at a game after I lost it and how to maybe next time do it better and learning from the loss. Okay, so starting with this tournament, it was a GT with around 85 players that took place earlier this year in Umeå. It did a 20-0 scoring system. It was 5 game, and it was when Harlequins were just released and didn't have their FAQ yet. So the Voidweaver spam and the very hard Custodes were like dominating the meta. I was lucky enough to just play a lot of other factions except for this game where I lost, which was against Custodes. But we're gonna go to that more. But first, let's look at the list I took in Umeå. If you looked at my other video from the Games of Västerås, where I also made 4th place and went 4-1, that list was a remake from this one. This tournament in Umeå was actually earlier this year, so Game of Västerås was more recent. But I deep dive now to the losing game because there is a video online that I can use. Okay, but my list. See if I can get it working here. In Umeå I went with the 3 standard HQs. This was before Armor of Contempt, so I had a Captain on Bike, which has the Dominus Aegis for the 5+ invul to save up and save the big Indomitor kill team. That only has a 3-up save, and when you don't have Armor of Contempt, you don't get to save on 5-up so often. But with the shield, you could have that invulnerable save, which was great for better endurance on the team. I went with a Sheep Librarian, the cheapest one, to save points. He had the 2 important spells we have, Primorphic Resonance and Fortified with Contempt. Well, these are auto takes because you need them. The one that gives you a 5-up, Feel No Pain, is great, and the other one is even greater with a +1 to hit and Fight First and also that you can overwatch a bit better, but that is not the important part. The most important part is that you have fight first. Fight first is so key because you get a free interrupt. You don't have to spend CP, which will be even more great now going into the reamp with starting with only 6 CPs. So having that fight first unit, you can always interrupt there for free, which is great. And if the enemy has fight last and you have fight first, they take out each other. So now you can use interrupt. Of course, he will fight first, but then you can use the interrupt for 2 CP if you have fight first and he has fight last. So a very good spell. So don't leave home without a librarian. You need him, and you need these 2 spells if you want to do great with your list. I went with the Primaris Chaplain on bike. He has the Recitation of Focus, which gives my Indomitor shooting team +1 to hit. He has the Aura, Canticle of Hate, that will get you a longer charge, +2 to the charge and +3 to the pile-in and consolidate. And he also carries the Litany of Hate, which makes you reroll all hits in melee. So early in the game, you will use the Recitation of Focus. Later in the game, you will only use the Hate ones to reroll all hits and get extra long charge and pile-ins. That's the HQs. I want to keep them cheap because the power of this army is in all the troops. But still, you want to buff the troops. And now, when you want to save even more CPs, we have to look at this more. But that is another episode. And I need to try something. Yeah, try a lot out. For the troops, everything is troops. But the first kill team was an Indomitor kill team. It consists of 5 heavy intercessors, 3 bolt storm aggressors, and 2 inceptors. These all guys had the heavy bolt rifle. You have 2 shots, strength 5, AP 1, and damage 1. And that's because custodes were in the meta, and I wanted to have AP 2 when I was shooting at them. So all these guys and these 2 guys I took for the AP 2 on the custodes. These only have AP 1. That will only take them up to a 3 up. But the rest will make them save on their 4 up, which is great. And these guys can punch in the melee. So this team I pull up with the Chaplain. This is played as a 10, a big brick. The Chaplain will buff them with +1 to hit, the Recitation of Focus. He will out-advance 20 up, get a good angle, pull these guys up with the Beacon Angelis, which was the relic I didn't mention, but he has relic, Beacon Angelis. Yeah, here it is. And he's upgraded, so they go off on a 2 up. Otherwise, you won't get the most important off when you need him. They pull him. He pulled that team up. They will be hitting on 2s most of the time if you don't have a penalty. Most of the times, the captain will be near 2 to give them the 5 up invulnerable when the enemy counters, and he will make them reroll once. So this team will be pulled up. They will be hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, and you will make them Imperial Fist, so you ignore cover and get exploding 6s. And then you play the strat for 3 CPs, all hits wounds, and they kill anything. A lot of CPs, which we don't have in the future, but it was great now. And in the future, you can still choose your chapter. You might be Imperial Fists for the army, and you might be in tactical, so you don't have to spend CPs to get into that. And you can use the 3 CPs to do the Specialism Extremis, because that is a lot of damage coming out from this team. So it's not over just because we start with lower CP. The second Indomitor kill team was a bit different. I play it the same way still. I did it in Game of Westeros, and I did it more recently in a small RTT when I went to a Shark Tank just to train with my list. They are 5 heavy intercessors and 4 aggressors with flame and 1 inceptor. I combat squad them, so these guys can hold backfield objectives, while these can push the middle, maybe go into deep strike and deep strike back. But I always start them on the field, so they can be used to punch the middle. If I want to start them in the reserves or deep strike, I have to pay a CP. If I start them on a table and then pull them back up with the teleportarium stratagem for 1 CP, it's the same cost. But if I have them on the table, I have more flexibility to choose if I want to push on the floor or if I want to go up into deep strike and then come down the next turn. They can never come down turn 1 even if I start them off the table. So start them on the table gets more flexible for you. These are great because they ignore, if you're advancing, they are assault weapons and they don't get any penalty. So, and having the Inceptor, not only do you get the possibility to fall back and shoot, also when you want that, maybe your white scars, you want advance and charge, these guys only move 5 plus a d6. So worst case they move 6. But moving this unit full 6, then 2 inch more, and then put this base, so 6 plus 2 plus a complete base, suddenly you're up to 9 inch movement, because this guy can fly 10. So you have a great distance, and maybe you just want to get up on the objective in the middle, turn 1, you're standing in cover and you want to move up. Moving slow aggressors that move 5, even if you advance, you might not reach objectives that are more up the game or into the battlefield. Then having this Inceptor to be able to touch with your obsec that objective is key. And maybe you want to go up and raise a banner, you don't want to advance, maybe you can reach it if you have this Inceptor. So he's key in many ways to play the mission. So combat squad this unit, these guys play the mission. I use the heavy intercessors and the Indomitable kill team because they are have a high they are durable. They can punch as hell, both in melee, and all these shots do damage to backfield objective holders when you deep strike them and you flame away. And if you're up maybe against Harlequins or Eldari or something, maybe John, maybe keep this as a 10 and combat squad these guys instead, because these guys I ran with the flamers, then you auto hit, so you don't get the penalty. You get a lot of shots in this unit instead. Maybe change these guys to Hellstorm, so you have just strength 5, AP 0, damage 1, but in tactical you have AP 1, and you can use this one as your shooting unit when you're playing against an enemy that is harder to hit, so you want more shots. You have 15 shots instead of 10, but less AP, but they save. The enemy has no save. Maybe a 4-up invulnerable, so you don't need extra AP. Then this team can be your 10 brick, which you will pull up and eradicate something with, while these guys are combat squadded to play the mission. So think about, you can use the teams both ways, but my go-to when I play is I keep this one intact and I combat squad this one. In Umeå I took my first test. I talk about this in the other video, the longer one, which I did after Game of Westeros, that I remade. I'll start with this team. The Costello style kill team, the Proteus kill team that he has been using with great success with a lot of Terminators with Thunderhammer Storm Shield. And I had one of those teams. I used 2 of them in Norrköping at a tournament, but now I wanted to try something else and I built this team, and that's the first time I played it. I used the 2 Van Vets for the mobility to stretch out the bike with movement shenanigans so we can go almost his full 14, because the bike moves up 2 inch behind, these 2 get in, and 2 inch behind them you have one normal guy. And then you get a very long range when you're moving up the first time. The bike can almost move. It's full 14. These guys move their, well, they can move 10, 12, and be 2 inch behind this. And then you have coherence with 2 within 2. and then the rest of the team can just tag along. And then when you get the litany off to +2 to the charge, and more important, +3 to your pile in and consolidate, and then the rest of the guys are coming in. And if you're playing white scars and advance and charge, then this team is moving a very long way, and then you have +2 on the charge. You're getting into combat turn 1. So Umeå, I had one of these test outs where I remade the Costello style kill team. I kept the Costello style kill team with the 3 Terminators with the Thunderhammer Storm Shield, and these also had the Teleport Homer. So this team was more expensive and could be played as one of my 2 to last, because it's more durable and I can jank it away with the Teleport Homer. Finally, I had a Spectre skill team because I wanted to be able to infiltrate and play the mission with these great guys. They are superb, and I have the Warlord trait, Lord of Deceit, so I can redeploy. So these guys can be put up more offensive in the game. Then after rolling off, you know who's going first. Then you can redeploy. And you can either pull one team out into deep strike, or you might redeploy them on the battlefield. And that happens after roll off. I talk about this in the other video, how the new rules work in Chapter Approved when you do the different steps, and these pre-game abilities are actually done after the roll-off. Okay, so that was the list. And the missions I played in Umeå, I'm not going to talk about all of them, but I'm going to talk about this one, Tide of Conviction. Probably, if I'm understanding all the rumors right, all the missions will be spared, and it's mostly how you build your army, how you generate CP, and how our secondaries look, that are being changed now in Nihilium from Nachmund. So Tide of Conviction will be still available, and this is one of the missions that is hold 2 or more for 4 points. So you can just not hold 1 for 4, you need to hold 2 objectives to gain 4 points, which is from the beginning a bit tougher. It's hard to score the primary, but as I said before, our army is very good at playing the primary game because we're obsec and we're durable, and we have a lot of movement shenanigans, fast units as well as redeployment stratagems, both for the Phobos units and for the whole army, for battlefield teleportation. So always when I go to tournament, I use my book before. I have made a list in it with all the missions I'm going to play here, and I note for all the missions what I want to play. But I wasn't prepared enough, I think, because when I get to the table here, first I get paired against the Custodes, get a bit nervous, start looking at this list. The meta is quite strong, and for this mission I had no perfect game plan how I wanted to play my missions. And then they said suddenly I'm going to be on a streaming table, so more nervous. So when I was picking my secondaries for this game, I picked wrong secondaries, and that's going to be one of the major impacts on how the game goes. Because when you choose your secondaries, that's how you're going to play the mission, how you're going to win this game. It doesn't matter who's your opponent. It does in some part, but you have to have a game plan for all the missions. How I'm going to win this mission. And if we look at this deployment, just look at this big map. It's a huge deployment. And as I've been talking about before, we have a great secondary, which I didn't pick, but we had, and it's going away now, but we'll find something else. But deploy Teleport Homer was fantastic. If you're within 12, doing the action with some troop, can be just one guy surviving. Only one guy in a big unit survives. He can do it. You get 2 points if you're within 12. If you're in his deployment, you get 4. So when you're playing Custodes on a Dawn of War deployment, which he will never be able to screen, you should have taken deploy teleport homer. I didn't. I took retrieve Nachmund data, which is much harder because I have to do it in all 4 zones to score just 12. If I had taken teleport homers, I would have scored 15. Doing strangle on this map is hard, and I know playing a custode, he will go strangle, and he will try to dominate 3 objectives and get me off 1 because he has a lot of firepower. So I knew he's gonna pick one of those. So I did not go for stranglehold this game, which was a bit. I think it was the right call still. Stranglehold would have been hard for me to hold 3 and get him off 1. Maybe late game, which we will see in the video. We might have been able to pull that off, but yeah, I still think Stranglehold would have been hard against Custodes on this map. Against some enemies, Stranglehold is good on this map because you can control 3. You will go for maybe not as you think your own 3, because the overrun that gives you 2 extra points is to take your opponents. So shifting this map over to a hammer and anvil, pushing up here and taking his home objective here and dominate these 3 will give you 2 extra victory points for overrun. And then later in the game you want to push his home objective, especially if going last, so you can score these full extra points. But looking at the map, you should consider playing teleport homers because you could get in here. I took to the last because I had some durable units and it's easy to save them. And for my last I went with psychic interrogation, which was a big mistake as well. Because now my psyker has to do actions and can't cast my important spells if I want to score my secondary, which was also a wrong pick. So I picked 2 bad secondaries. Retrieve Nachmund data, which of course I can do here, here, and maybe here for 8, and maybe for 12. But teleport homer would have given me 15. Then the psychic interrogation one makes me a less working army, and it's not an out to take because I'm not sure I'm going to get it 15. And then I had to the last, which still is a good pick because we have a high durability. Unfortunately, to the last is also leaving us in the Nihilum. Okay, let's have a look at the game actually here. Let's see if we can get into it. This is the terrain, bigger ruins, they are all closed on the bottom floor, these as well, closed on the bottom floor, and these are big, just huge terrain pieces. And as you can see, Benjamin got to choose the side, and he were fortunate enough that if you look at the terrain, this objective can be held from behind as well, which unfortunately I can't do here. So this one is more exposed, which it's harder to start, but nothing to be too sad about. We still have great objectives here that we can play on, and this was my plan. As you see in my deployment, I put one of my forward deploy here, and I pre-game measured so he couldn't do a turn 1 charge with this dreadnought here because I didn't want them to auto die. But I still, if I went first, wanted to be able to go up and touch this objective and make it harder for him to score banners, because he went with banners, strangle, and no prisoners. Strangles I knew, banners and no prisoners is great against our army. It always, if they table you, they get 14. They will score around 10 because you almost every time lose a lot of units. So they take prisoners, and he would take strangle. And then he went with banners, which is a great pick in this, because if you can raise banners on your three home objectives and hold them, you will get a lot of points. So we had a nice secondary plan instead of mine that was not so good, with mental interrogation, retreat Nachunbata, and to the last. My deployment, as I said, I had one team here ready to go up on this objective. I have hidden one team over here, which is 5 heavy intercessors, and they are bad placed because they should have been more placed here so I can easily go up and contest this objective. So they are wrong placed. They are just here to do retrieve Nachman data, and I had no plan for using them later, which was a bad choice when I placed them. So just looking at my deployment, starting off here, these guys are standing in the wrong place. They should be standing close to the corner so they can advance up on the objective, so they can contest it and maybe do a threat on him if he tried to push here, and so I can more easily score my primary game. But my plan was to do a hammer and anvil. So you see here, I'm ready to push on this side because I thought he was doing the same. I have my big shooting team over here hidden because I don't want them to get damaged in the beginning. So fully obscured. I had my chaplain on bike here ready to buff them with +1 to hit, and so he could advance up and pull up the shooting team. He could probably get up here and get a good line, but I own this table quarter, so I'm happy with that part in the deploy. I have one of my kill teams here with the bikes, so they can go up and kill things in combat on this side. Over here in the middle, I have my second kill team, and I have my 4 flame aggressors and inceptors, and my mage. The captain is also over here to be able to buff this team. So that was my deployment, and I had 1 unit in deep strike, I think. The second part of my what's called Spectre skill team. Maybe I'm early in the video had them placed on the table and then redeploy them up into reserves, or maybe I started them in deep strike. I don't remember exactly. So looking from this perspective, I did an okay deployment. My biggest mistake was playing. Now I know he's going for banners. Of course I want to be able to contest his objective and also disrupt his strangle being able. So just have them closer here. Still they can do my secondary retreat Nachman data, but then later they can be pushing up here, disturbing his game. So he has to focus on them instead of just ignoring this part of the table. The rest was okay for the deployment. I'm happy about it. He went first.
He raises the ban.
Go up and raise banners here, here, and here.
Hinders him, so he needs a combat squad then before he moves through the walls.
Push up here with a dreadnought and 3 custodes, and also here you can see they are on the objective behind here. He has his captain here as well. Some extra bikes, some more wardens in here, and he pushed a lot up here. Then my first turn, I wanted to dominate this part of the table. So I pull my chaplain up, and the chaplain pulls up the Indomitable kill team. I move up my infiltrators so they can also join on the objective. Meanwhile here my second combat team moves up and touches this objective, and my 5 aggressors and the mage stands back here. So maybe already started shooting here.
One dead.
Yeah, and then I shoot, not using the stratagem, just shooting,
One
because
dead and one took one wound.
these guys put out so many shots.
first time I
So
don't think it was
with
all.
strength 5 and the AP 2, a lot of
Yeah,
these
it's
guys
all.
dies
I can
just
hear
from
counting
regular
dice.
shooting from this
All the dice.
from this team. So my plan was to get him off the objective. I wanted to kill this dreadnought, kill this team, and I can successfully do that, I thought, with shooting this team and then charging the dreadnought. And then he will just have 2, 4, 6 bodies on, and I will have my 10 bodies from the charging here. And that is was my plan for the first turn, which did actually work out fine. I don't know why I exposed this team here. So open. I had no use of contesting the objective with both these teams. I should have put them back here. And I also don't have any unit that can do retrieve Nachmon data left here. So I do a few mistakes here. These guys, they back up here. You see, I move them back and do retrieve down here. So now I've done retrieve in one corner, which was safe. I could have held off here longer, but instead of moving up here so I can go in up and contest, I move them back further and do a retrieve. And I left this corner now with no unit that can do retrieve, because these aggressors are standing on the midline, so they are not able to. They can move maybe over here and do it next turn. All these guys are pushing up, and this team is getting exposed for shooting over here now. So after my turn 1 movement, I'm standing exposed here. I moved wrong way over here, and these guys are not ready to do the secondary next turn. The rest I'm happy with. Pulling the shooting team up here, contesting this objective, having the captain here, giving them the 5+ invul. Now, if I didn't take mental interrogation to interrogate over here, I could have buffed these guys with the 5+ feel no pain and fight first. So they were ready for the counter when the enemy tries to take me off this objective, because he needs to. He needs to either clear me here, or back here, which is harder because he's not near. And if I had hold this team back and had this, he could never have taken that objective back. So this part I'm happy with, not so much this. And the wrong secondary made me not being able to buff this team. But the turn goes as I planned. I actually do retrieve. I kill the dreadnought and his team. I push up on the objective. These guys are standing here, ready to try to punish him for trying to get me off the objectives now, because he needs to strangle. He pushed hard towards the middle, and something I missed. He's playing Shadowkeepers, and I didn't actually know how great they were of sniping characters, because what happens now is he flies in with his captain here, and this captain ignore invulnerable saves, so he will then shoot. He's gonna shoot my captain here with his D3+3 damage gun that now ignore invuls and one-shot my captain. Because he was lucky enough to roll a 6 in damage, I think. So he kills the captain with the shooting, and then he charges my chaplain and kills him in combat, ignoring invulnerables. So very important part of knowing your enemy is Shadowkeepers, ignore invulnerable saves, and you have to know these things so you don't leave your important buffing characters open to be sniped so easily. because now I will be losing my 5-up invulnerable save on this team turn 1, his turn 2, which will also impact the game, because now I don't have my invulnerable and I don't have my feel no pain, which are gonna make my Indomitor kill team much less resilient. Move up the game a bit. As you see, he charges over here and here and here, the kill team. You can see him shot the captain here and waiting for, yeah, there you see him charging my chaplain as well and killing him. I actually did an interrupt here and actually was able to kill off. I actually overwatched with this shooting team and killed a bike because of the pure amount of shots. And I also do an interrupt later on to try to kill off some more of his units, spending 2 CPs on that. Over here now, I make some bad decisions, because when you have the opportunity to interrupt, you should not split your powers, because partly I used the fall back and shoot because I had the interceptors. I fall back and I shoot, and brings one of these guys, the wardens, down to 1 wound, and one of his bikes down to 1 wound, which means when I later on fight him, he will have more units left. So don't split fire if you don't think you're gonna kill everything, because it's better to have 1 less unit fighting back than having 2 units fighting back at full power, even though, yeah, they're damaged. But so that was also a big mistake. I did a great move here. I made them, he thought he had tied me up. I did a fall back and shoot, and then I was getting ready to charge. Maybe I don't remember if I went white scars, so I had fall back and charge natively, and then played a one CP stratagem to fall back and shoot as well, because I had Inceptor here. So I fall back and shoot for 1 CP, and the army had a fall back and charge because of the white score. So falling back, shooting. I killed off his captain now, that actually survived combat. I thought he was dead. He survived with 1 wound from the fighting. He charged my chaplain. I did a heroic intervention and tried to kill him. He survived with 1 wound. But now I shot some shots in him. He got killed, and then the rest of the teams did shooting in here. Took the guys down to 1 wound, and now the charge comes back. So now I've charged all these teams up here and in here, with both the aggressors, the rest of the kill team, and this kill team. And here you have my infiltrators coming in doing retrieve Nachtmoon data in this corner. So turn 2 I done retrieve up here, I done retrieve down here, but now I definitely don't have any unit left here to do it. And I've been spending a lot of CP, so I need to redeploy now something to get here, because everything else is engaged in combat. If I had played teleport homers, well, this unit can now do it every turn for 4 points. Turn 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's 16 points. Nothing he can do about it. So teleport homers would have been a much better choice. And now my mage is already dead, I think. He sniped him out as well, so I won't be able to score mental interrogation anymore, because my mage is also killed now. So I get 6 points on mental interrogation for doing it twice, and then he's dead, and I can't buff my teams. So 2 very bad picks of secondaries. The rest of the game, it is a loss, but I actually do get back into the game. I fast forward a bit here, so you can see I win the combat up here, which was no big surprise. Over here, he strikes hard at me, and I lose a lot of units, and he loses a lot of units. And in the end, he has a bit too much over here, and I have my aggressors over there. But I actually now he's gonna try coming over here to strengthen the middle with his dreadnought, and that open up he charges in here to try to kill me off the rest here, while he's trying to get rid of this kill team here, and I'm still standing still here. I'm gonna fast forward a bit to my next turn, and now you see what happens. Now this team move up here. This is just pure luck, but it worked. But if I played more strategically and had the team over here from the beginning, I could have moved more easily up here and then done this correctly. But now I actually roll 12 on this charge and get it in. So this team moves up here and takes down one of his banners and takes this objective back. I've started to move this team over here to get to his backfield. And then he tries to go back with his dreadnought, misses his charge, and I actually go up and kill his... I think he brought a Psyker, or what's it called? An Inquisitor, to have a Psyker in his team. And I charge him and kill him and take this objective and banner down. And the rest of my army is now... I actually saves one of my aggressors here with the Teleportarium strat, and I deep strike him on this objective. I push this objective with my kill team to actually take that one down and this one down. So in the end I deny him a lot of banners. I take these 3 objectives for overrun. I'm going second, so I get 2 + 2 + 4, so I get 8 points in the end of the game, and I hold his 3 objectives for a 12 in the end. So I actually get a lot of points in the end for playing the mission, going for overrun, pushing him off so I can get back, because I knew he was already maxing out his primary. And he's playing the mission very well. He's getting a lot of points on no prisoners. He's getting a lot of points on banners in the beginning, which I try to deny now. And Stranglehold, he scores very well. And in the end, I don't think they update the score to the final score. But I can check what I actually got in my small book. Sorry, I can't find it. Here it is. I get in the end I actually scores 10 on to the last. I get 8 on R&D. I get 6 on psychic interrogation and 32 on the primary, so I get at least some points back. But still, this is a loss. And when looking at it, I watched this game two times, I think, and try to evaluate it. Deployment, I make some mistakes over here, but the key thing is that I pick the wrong secondaries for this game, and that's how you learn from your mistakes. this game I might have lost anyway, but I would have gotten a 15 on my deploy teleport homers. I still maybe have got 10 on my to the last if I picked it. And mental interrogation, I shouldn't have picked it. I should have gone with something else. And looking at this table, maybe a good one would have been shock assault, the marine one, where you take the objective off your opponent for maybe 12, because you're going to change a lot of objectives here. I have objects, he has objects, we're going to change who has them. So hello Howard, thanks for the chat. So going back and forth, that would have been much more better, because I'm gonna steal objectives and I'm gonna go back. So that would have been much better. So that was my take on how I actually analyze a loss, and I hope you enjoy the actual take on this one. Send me any questions you want afterwards, and I will try to make an episode quite soon after I've been looking more at Nihilum, and yeah, with the new changes, what I think about how it will affect AOR in chat. I think it will have a big impact. We have to look at our secondaries. I've been looking at the rumors now, trying to see what we'll be able to take, but we will have to try to be more efficient with how much CP we spend in the beginning. So just starting with 6, we're gonna have to turn down even more. We won't be able to bring that hard sergeant that's buffed up with 2 CPs. We will still maybe want to play with the chaplain so he can get all the buffs off and use the beacon. That will be 2 CPs now, so we're down to 4, and maybe we won't be able to take so much more before the game. So starting with 4 CPs, using 2 for making the chaplain better, I think. And then for the secondary game, I think actually Oath of Moment is still viable, which it's not as good as before, because you only can score 1 point now for holding the objective. I've been thinking about maybe now is the time to maybe use that warlord trait, that we can change our secondaries, because if you go first or second, can impact a lot on which you take. The long vigil, now your opponent has to be wholly within your deployment, which is hard if you go first, because then he has to be there early and he has to play very aggressively into an army that does a lot of damage. So it might have some more playing wholly within your deployment, more play than before. Oath of Moment is still a good one on all those missions with 1 in the center. I still want to be there holding that objective, and now maybe playing Shock Assault more, where you trade objectives, you take 1 from your enemy, playing the marine one, to score maybe for 12, because if you go first you can't score the first round, but if you can't get into his home objective, of course. But I think Shock Assault will be a valuable one. I think we will go for Oath of Moment. Teleport homers are gone, To the Last is gone, Stranglehold is gone, all those were great. We have to look at the other ones, the one where we go for, I don't remember the name, but the fortress one, which they can't now have in their deployment, so it has to be out in the game. So it might be one of these in this particular game, and I can still do the action if he's there, so it has more play now. And here I'm pushing up on his front, and I want to be hammer and anvil, and he's got to try to take it back. So and he can lose CP as well. So it might be fun, but I have to try it out. I'm going to test now. I'm going to a GT in 2 weeks. That GT will not play the Nihilium, because they have a 2-week rule. So the rules will be released on the 25th, I think, and they will not allow the new rules because they have a 2-week rule, so everyone can get prepared. So unfortunately, I will be playing my old list with the Nachtmund rules. which of course is fun because I know those rules, but still now when everything is moving up to Nihilum, you want to play that, of course. But I will get back soon more on Nihilum when I read some more rumors and how I'm gonna maybe redo my list, but the list is still great, I think. I think the list can still play Nihilum, but we have to think about how much CP we spend before and how we play the secondaries. We will still have a great game into the primary objective, and we just have to find a way around the second one. Yeah, the Emperor protects. Thanks a lot. I'm gonna round up for tonight. The mission, this took much longer than I thought. I was planning on maybe 20 minutes, but I hope you enjoyed it. Write me any questions you want, and stay vigilant, and the Emperor protects. Take care, everyone, and see you later. Bye.